Here's another look at Sins of a Solar Empire 2. We're going to go through an entire play session, although I'll put in a few edits to keep it interesting. Now, I'm going to increase some of the speed settings here just so that we can get through the play session in a reasonable time. Now, the game is fully available on Steam, with the release date being the 15th of August. There's a link in the video description where you can find out everything you need to know. Now, we're right at the start of the mission here. This is our homeworld, and we're looking at a factory here. We're about to build a few ships in just a moment, and my objective here is to expand as quick as possible to get to the enemy homeworld and then completely annihilate it. Now, this version of the game was sent over to me by Stardock. I've had access to it for, well, a few months now at this point, and this video is sponsored by Stardock, so my thanks to them for that. So we've got a large ship being built now, a capital ship over at the heavy ship plant, and we're going to build a few frigates here at the light shipyard. I think we'll go for the Cobalt light frigates. We do have a military supply here, which limits the amount of ships that we can have in our fleet at any one go. That's covered by our research, and we're going to need to increase the research in a minute so we can increase that supply limit, so we can ultimately end up with many more ships. So down the bottom here, we've got our research rate and our commerce rate, our logistics supply, and many other things. These all contribute towards the various different resources and abilities that our society actually has, our civilization has. So right here, we want to start off our military research, and in order to do that, we're going to need to put a point into defense. Now, we've got logistics, which is one area of research. The other area of research, of course, is defense, so that's going to need to increase there. This will allow us to build more military research stations in orbit, which in turn allow us to increase our military research. Meanwhile, we can see our first capital ship is now ready. It's coming out of the shipyard, and yeah, I really do like the design of these. Very much reminiscent of, in my mind at least, the Expanse. Very nice utilitarian design. Of course, not all of the factions have a design like this. The other factions do have various different designs in terms of their visual aesthetics. Here, meanwhile, is one of those scouts. Now, the scouts do head on out to across the solar system, and they will automatically explore for you, reporting back what they've discovered. So we're going to let them go out there and do that. I've built quite a few scouts to do this and keep things actively and passively being explored. And you can see already there has been a world discovered here. We're going to deal with that in just a moment. It is a nice world. It's an Arctic world. So that means at some point I'm going to need to research Arctic colonization or Arctic terraformation, so we can go and live on that planet. Before we do that though, let's start our military research, because as I said, we want to increase our military supply, ship supply, as fast as possible. Ultimately, I want to just build a massive fleet of ships and send them over to the enemy homeworld. Now, as we play through the game, you may notice there's some few improvements and changes since the last time we played. One of those, of course, is the changes to the graphics here. There's been a few visual improvements. And by the way, I really do love the backdrop here. This is absolutely gorgeous. Now, we're setting our rather small current size fleet over to the next planet over. And this, well, hopefully will allow us to capture it. There is going to be a minor faction there. The minor faction is represented by grey icons. The main enemy here is represented by the orange ships. We can see that particular icon up in the top left-hand corner of the screen there, and they do have some planets over the far side of the map. That's something I'll look at a little bit further on, but for right now we want to colonize our immediate surroundings, and to do that we're going to need to take down some of the people who are currently kind of laying claim to it. They're kind of just buzzing around the area and they're going to make a nuisance of themselves if we allow them to hang around. So yes, we got the firepower to completely overwhelm these for now. Now, when it comes to the early stages of combat, I tend to focus all my firepower on a single ship, one at a time. You can simply let your units duke it out on their own. They're pretty smart. They've got some pretty good AI, and they'll be able to deal with most of the enemies without much problem. But if you want to be a bit more hands-on, you can make a difference there. Now, right here I'm putting down some military bases. These are military research stations, and we've also got civil research stations, and these allow us to increase our research supply, our research rate. Currently we've only got level 1 research, but the more bases we've got, the more research we can actually do. Another thing you're going to want to pay attention to, and this is very important, is future orbits. Now right here you can see all of the planets in the area, and all connected with these grey lines. These are the routes, the conduits, which allow us to travel from A to B. However, these planets do move and orbit over time, and as you can see, that means they come closer and further away, and that changes the contact lines. So it's important you pay attention to that, because you don't want to colonize a planet that's going to drift right over to the other side of the map and be cut off from your main empire. So always worth checking the future orbit of any of your potential planets that you want to colonize. Talking of which, our forces have now dealt with all the hostiles that were in this particular area, and it is now ready for us to colonize. So I've sent in a colonization ship, and this will send a colony down to the planet, and ultimately it will lay claim to this particular planet, adding it to our growing empire. This will be our first planet. So different planets have different attributes, and this one is an Arctic planet, as we saw early on. Whilst I've made a bit of a cut here, I have done the research in order to colonize this planet, because yeah, if you want to colonize a primordial planet or a lava world like this one, or an ice world, you're going to need to have completed the respective research in order to do that. Now, like I say, I want to expand this empire as quick as possible, so my fleet is moving around from system to system, trying to take down the various hostiles that are located there within. Again, this is a minor faction, so they're not posing too much of a problem. Although the minor factions do have kind of a capital world, and if you go there, you can find some, well, insurmountable firepower, at least at this stage of the game. They can have some significant firepower there. Another thing I really like about the design of the game, notice how that ship that just exploded was actually a side-on, and that's because it has a side-facing weapons. It actually goes a side-on in order to, well, shoot at you and deploy its various attacks. Continuing with the goal of building this fleet up, we're going to look at a few more frigates here. I think we'll go with just some light frigates for now, so we can build up a second fleet. Now, I'd probably put a dreadnought at the core of that second fleet, because they are great at planetary bombardment. So far throughout the video, we've colonized empty planets. As we get further into the video, further into this play session, you'll see some of the planets are colonized by other factions, the other major factions in particular. And yeah, to take back them, you're going to need to have a planetary bombardment and bomb them into submission. And that's where the dreadnought comes into effect. So research is progressing really nicely. We need to get research level 3 for military, but can't quite do that yet because we haven't got enough military research stations. So we're going to just add a few more of them in, so that we've got enough to allow us to conduct the next level of military research. Also dotted around, you'll see some of these asteroids. These well, once we've got the necessary research, we can actually build factories on these extraction sites, and they will gather some of the resources for us. So at the top of the screen, you can see we've got credits represented by the gold icon there in the middle. To the right of that is metal, and then we have crystals. You can get some of these extracted from your planets, but also a lot more from the various asteroids. These aren't the only resources. We have exotics, and these are essential for some of the larger ships, specifically capital ships. And to get some more of those exotics, I'm going to need to increase the survey level on a bunch of my planets. There's also another way to get the exotics. You can get some specific ones, and you'll see how I do that slightly further into the video. Okay, zooming back out again, we can see my empire is growing. We've got 4 different planets colonized, and the enemy currently has 2. Now, I'm checking future orbits to see where might be risky points of entry and areas that I'm really going to need to defend. Because whilst my empire is on the opposite side of the map right now, it's not going to remain that way forever. Fortunately, there's plenty of ways to set up a defense. One specific method I do like is to put down these massive guns. We've got Gauss cannons and artillery cannons. These sit in orbit around your planets, and I'm going to put these just opposite the various points of entry into this particular planetary system. Now, whilst initially at least these aren't the be-all and end-all when it comes to planetary defense, they do a pretty good job of keeping some of the hostiles away. And I'm pretty sure that area there, that particular planet we just put the defenses in, is the one we're going to see the first incursions into. Elsewhere, we're going to continue to take a few more areas here. This one looks particularly interesting. Anything with resources is always good. So these large asteroids in the center there, we can colonize those and then go start mining the other surrounding asteroids for both metal and crystal. And I think we're going to defend this one as well, because this is starting to get on the outer edges of my current empire. Now, obviously, I could keep expanding the empire, but to achieve my goal, which is to get over there with kind of like a flash mob, just kind of take down the enemy homeworld as quick as I possibly can, I don't think my empire needs to get too large. At least that's the theory. We'll have to see how it goes. Now, one thing I've been especially enjoying about Sins of a Solar Empire 2 is the nature of the play sessions. Obviously, you can have multiplayer games here, and that is a major focus, but also you can do single player games like I am here against just the AI, and that can be just against one AI faction or a number of AI factions. And the part of that which I've really enjoyed is the ability to really customize the length of the play session. As you saw at the start of this video, I wanted this one to be relatively a quick play session, but you can also really go for long, drawn out, kind of almost on the level of grand strategy type titles. It really does depend on what you're looking for and how you're feeling in any particular moment. Okay, a while ago you saw me, you heard me mention the exotic resources. These are the somewhat rarer resources and how you need to have surveys on your planets to find these. You can create your own, it does take time, and this right here is the unit that allows me to do that. So it will take a little bit of time to be fully constructed, but once we've got this, it's going to be very useful indeed. We can simply select a certain specific exotic resource and it will pump that out for us, and that means, yeah, we'll have the resources needed for the larger vessels. Elsewhere, scanning around my empire, I've noticed the orange element to the UI here surrounding my planet. Now, the red part below the circle represents my own forces within that planetary system. The orange element represents enemy forces there. So it does look like, as I predicted, there is an incursion there. We're going to go and need to deal with that right now. So the incursion is looking to be relatively small at the moment. This is what, frigate class ships maybe? Got enough ships here to hopefully deal with this without too much problems. And yes, this is the area that I expected them to arrive in. We also got the defense cannons there as well. A couple more ships over there at the new shipyard I built, which I'm using to build up a fleet. And there you can see the defense cannons firing away, but they're also taking some damage as well, I think. Oh, here comes a bigger ship that's obviously arriving to try and take my planet away from me. But with the amount of ships I've got in this system, I'm not particularly bothered by that. I think we're about to deal with that pretty easy. I'm going to take out these frigates, I think. Or perhaps I should concentrate all my fire on the main vessel here first. Now, I've been building up this secondary fleet here, as I said earlier in the video. This one is got the Dreadnought as its core, and a bunch of other ships surrounding it. But I've also got the first original fleet that I used to take the initial systems, the initial planets. And yeah, what you can see here over in the background is that other fleet now turning up. A little bit of a cut there just to wait for their arrival. So we've got two fleets here now attacking this massive enemy ship, and I think that's about all it's going to be able to take. That is now destroyed. So at this point, now the enemy has decided to start incursions into my star systems. I think we're going to continuously get those. So it's a bit of a race against time. I could either spend a bunch of time building up defences around that particular planet to ensure it's well protected. Alternatively, I could take all my ships and go on the offensive, which I think I will actually do. Now, earlier in the video, you'll remember I talked about exotic resources and how I could build those now on demand, and this is how you do that once you've got the correct infrastructure. I can't build Colonizing yet, though, because I don't have the funds for that. I also don't yet have a civilian level 4 research. At any rate, those exotics are going to take a little while to prepare, so meanwhile we're going to mount that offensive. The plan is pretty simple. We're just going to overwhelm the enemy. To do that, I'm going to bring all of my vessels into this single planetary system here and then send them out. Let's build a few more frigates as well. Just going a little bit at random here because, yeah, the idea is just to create complete overwhelming force. Oh, we got another incursion here. So, yeah, unsurprisingly, now the enemy has made that initial attempt to start attacking my planets. They're going to keep on doing that, and I'm pretty sure as soon as I leave this system we're going to end up with another incursion here. But this isn't my home world. I'm willing to risk losing this secondary backup planet, this resource gathering planet, in the attempt for me to go out there and attack the enemy homeworld. That is one of the win states, one of the win conditions of the game, taking down the enemy homeworld, or losing your own homeworld in fact. The moment that happens, it is game over. Okay, so we dealt with that threat particularly nicely. Okay, so you can see all my ships now are heading into this area. We've got another large capital ship on the way as well. I think once that's there, we will be ready to head on out to confront the enemy. We're going to arrive en masse in the nearby systems first. So the first target is the asteroid system here. And it looks like, is there something there? Maybe. It looks like it's owned by the enemy, Daedalus. We're going to bomb that asteroid, and I think we've already got that. And as I said, as soon as I'd left the area, my own planet is under siege, it's under attack. Now, I've got no real defences there. I've got the big cannons that I've put there in orbit, and a few ships maybe remaining behind. The question is whether or not I return my fleet back to that planet to save it, but I don't think I'm going to. Instead, I'm going to accelerate time up a little bit here and move my ships along to get closer to the enemy homeworld. And yes, you can accelerate time up in this game. You can pause it, you can slide right down to around about 1/4 speed, and you can increase it all the way up by a factor of 10. And anyway, this kind of ties back into what I mentioned earlier about the whole time factor of this game. You can kind of go for some very quick sessions, as I'm going for with this particular playthrough, or you can have some more longer, really interesting, drawn out sessions as well. And that's the approach I went for in a previous video, so you can check that out if you so want. Now, you can see here that the enemy has clustered together their bases, their outposts, and some of their defences as well. We're simply going to try and take down as much of it as we can. Once these are out of the way, I think we'll go for the planetary bombardment. I'm going to accelerate time up a little bit here, because for whatever reason, they don't seem to have much in the way of fleets here just yet. Maybe in the other nearby systems, and they could approach at any time. But, you know, we're making relatively short work of this. This seems to be going, well, relatively straightforward at the moment. So that's all out of the way. Time to bombard the planet. We're going to slow time down just a little bit there. And I do like the visuals on the planets here. Look at the nukes, or whatever they are, going on the planetary surface there. I feel kind of mean, because obviously we're probably killing millions, if not billions, of people here with every one of those impacts. Now, my fleet is moving over to the outer edge of the boundaries of this planetary system here. Looks like they found another hostile to deal with. Yeah, that's gone. That's dealt with. And yeah, we've still got some bases here to deal with. Have these been reconstructed since I entered this system? Obviously, these people do have the ability to keep rebuilding until I've removed that capability from them. So this planet is the enemy homeworld, and if and when we've defeated it, and it looks pretty much inevitable now, it looks like we are going to be able to take this down without much of a problem now. Once we've done that, we should achieve a victory. And yes, I did this at the expense of losing that ice world planet within my own empire, and I'm sure the enemy is going to keep building up ships and other resources around that area and eventually try and attack my homeworld. But I think we're going to get there first. So yeah, the goal with this particular video was to show you how you can play, and there we go, victory. So yeah, the goal in this video was to show you how we can play in different styles with Sins of a Solar Empire 2. It's been a very interesting experience overall. I've had a lot of different play sessions here and enjoyed the different styles of them. Again, this video was sponsored by Stardock, so my thanks to them. Do check out the details in the video description below. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.